Hello, Phantom fans. My name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. Last week, we asked the questions, are the Phantoms good? After last weekend's road trip through the land of the Violent Femmes and Bob Uecker, all signs point to yes. Right now, the Phantoms are a good team. We'll cover all of that in this episode, as well as look ahead to the final Phantoms home game of 2021 at the end of November. We'll also have an interview with Phantoms forward Ryan Alexander, and there's going to be some stats we throw out in this show that we haven't seen in a long time. So, Justin, it seems like the rebuild so far has progressed further than we had originally hoped for.
Yeah, we've been kind of trying to temper our expectations here, but this past weekend, I think we exceeded them by a decent amount, and I could say that, yeah, we're a little ahead of what I would think the schedule was.
All right, so starting off with some news and notes, right off the bat, we're recording on Monday night, the 22nd. Earlier in the day, the Phantoms tweeted out, or actually on Facebook, rather, come out listing 5 Phantoms as signing their NLIs or National Letter of Intent.
I will just say I will avoid my typical rant on the verbal commits at age 12 or 14, but yeah, kudos to these guys.
So announced today by the Phantoms signing their NLIs. Of course, Jaden Grant with Bowling Green. We know he's been committed there. We talked to him about that, but finally put pen to paper. Chase Patella going to Michigan Tech. Kyle Bettens with the University of Minnesota Duluth. Morgan Winters with the University of New Hampshire, and Adam Ingram with St. Cloud State University. So congratulations to all these guys. This is what the USHL is all about. Get these kids to school. The vast majority of them Division I schools. Get in with great programs, get an education. At the end of the day, that's what we want to see for these kids. And these are, 5 kids right here. These universities got really lucky in bringing them in.
Yeah, I mean, and at this point, the Phantoms only have a handful of players, 2 or 3 at the most, I think, at this point, who aren't committed to a Division I school. So league makes some pretty grand statements about, their Division I commitments, and they are following through on it.
So before we move on to the weekend recap, Justin, any other news, anything going on in the USHL? I haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, I don't know. Hearing some things about a dumpster fire. Yeah, the Omaha Lancers. Not to make too big a joke of it. There's players sitting idle this weekend. As a lot of people have heard, there was some controversy with the coaching. The players have boycotted. The league has stepped in. They should play next weekend. It's a very long, convoluted. We are not getting into it tonight. We might do a breakaway episode later on in the week and cover it a little more in depth. But yeah, it's been a pretty interesting week for the USHL on that front.
Yeah, in our typical fashion, we had jokes at the beginning, mostly centered around the absolutely ridiculous statements that were coming from the Omaha franchise that everybody reading them pretty much knew was severely stretching the truth. If we can even come close to calling it that.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't know if everybody realized that. It seemed nobody was calling it out, so I think we had to poke some jokes at it. But yeah, it's gotten pretty serious, so we won't.
Yeah, as time has gone on, the more and more of the stories that are coming out, and the one I will bring up that just kind of infuriated me when I read it was this story about after the Fall Classic, Omaha having a 14-hour bus trip from Pittsburgh back to Omaha, then basically having the driver drive 14 hours straight, when I believe federal laws say that he can only drive for
10
hours after 8 hours of rest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's beyond penny pinching. That's putting people's lives at risk. It was a different scenario, but when you think back to the Humboldt tragedy, I mean, yeah, again, not the same scenario, but you have a bus driver fall asleep. I can promise you, fall asleep at the wheel with all those kids on the bus. I can promise you that, wrongful death lawsuits, and everything else would be a heck of a lot more expensive than booking a hotel for the night or, swapping out drivers.
Yeah. I mean,
that was the point when I heard that was kind of where the jokes ended for me. Like, wow, not only was it just this little petty stuff you were doing, that is serious.
Well, I mean, and by petty, we mean, totally disregarding tier 1 standards.
Yeah.
Some of this, you can go into whatever, malnourishment on the road could lead to injuries, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, when you get to breaking traffic safety violations, no words. Maybe later on in the week, but yeah, it's ugly.
That was just we wanted to keep it short. That was just something I wanted to throw out there because that honestly disgusted me when I heard that.
We had the same reaction.
So how about we move on to some happier news? Thankfully, we have happier news in this neck of the league. Let's go in and talk about this past weekend, the Phantoms road trip up to Wisconsin. All right, so this past weekend, Friday night, Phantoms take a trip to Madison. Thankfully, we won't have to see them again for a little while. While they were there, they decided to take a hop over to Green Bay on Saturday. Both of these games were wins. We'll go ahead, jump right in, start talking about them. The game on Friday at Madison. This was a 4-2 win for the Phantoms. We'll start off with the scoring in the first period. Jaden Grant got what ended up being his first of the game and his 7th of the season. This led to the Phantoms ending up leading at the end of the first period 1-0. Going into the second period, Jaden Grant gets his 2nd of the game on the power play, followed up by Kyle Bettens, his 7th of the season, also on the power play. Phantoms take a 3-0 lead. Madison's Tyler Haskins was able to pick one up on the power play. So second period ends, Phantoms are up 3-1. Third period starts about halfway through the period. Madison's Nick DeSantis gets a power play goal. Brought Madison back within 3-2, raised my blood pressure probably about a good 20-25% based on what we dealt with last weekend, last Friday when Madison came to town. So yeah, blood pressure started going up a little bit. Thankfully, Phantoms are able to kill off a couple of penalties there towards the end of the game. Ryan Alexander, with about 3 seconds left, got an empty netter, his 9th of the season, and the Phantoms win 4-2. Phantoms power play still trucking along. They were 2 for 5 in this game. Penalty kill, they were 5 for 7. Shots tilted towards Madison, 35-30. And Kyle Chevette gets the win. He's saved 33 out of 35. So I would say if you want to compare this game with Madison to the game last Friday with Madison, I think this was a more complete win by the Phantoms than the game on last Friday was. You saw a good defensive effort in the game last Friday. I think we saw a great defensive effort in this game.
I think overall in the series, you see one team or the other stepping up on defense, and that's what wins the game. They scored a goal. Like you, my blood pressure went up probably about 20. But I was a little more confident this weekend, especially, Kyle Chevette just still seems to be playing such solid goal.
So yeah, as far as Madison, I believe the saying goes, we can't miss you if you won't go away. Madison went away. We missed them. They're back. Then they haven't gone away here for a while. So thankfully they'll be going away so we can miss them again. Moving on to Saturday night, the Phantoms traveling over to Green Bay with the Gamblers. That was a 7-2 win for the Phantoms. First period, the scoring, all Phantoms, Adam Ingram, his 9th of the season, Kyle Bettens, his 8th of the season, and Ryan Alexander, his 10th of the season. That came on the power play. First period ends, Phantoms are up 3-0. And this was a part that kind of made me laugh. Going into the second period, Green Bay would pick up the first goal of the period. That was Will Staring. This is something I'll talk about later in 4 points. This goal was actually my favorite, part of my favorite moment of the entire weekend, but I'll get into that in 4 points. Then the Phantoms picked up 2 more in the second. Justin Varner, his 5th of the season, and Adam Ingram, his 10th of the season and 2nd of the game. So the Phantoms head into the third period with a 5-1 lead, tack on 2 more in the third. Morgan Winters, his 2nd of the season. Kenta Isagai, his 3rd of the season. That came on the power play. Green Bay picked up 1 more goal late in the third, a few minutes left. That was Ryan Green. So yeah, end of the game, final score, Phantoms 7-2. And again, like I mentioned, the Phantoms power play, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit as well. The Phantoms power play again, 2 for 4 on the night, penalty kill 5 for 5. So completely shut Green Bay down, which wasn't that hard. Their power play percentage was like 11.6% coming into this game. So I'm sure it bumped that down a little bit more.
Still not last.
Still not last. Yeah. Shots in the game, that was 41-36 Green Bay. Kyle Chauvette stopped 39 of 41 shots. He was spectacular in this game. Kyle overall on the season with a record of 7 wins, 3 losses, and 1 shootout loss. A 2.73 goals against average and a 915 save percentage. Yeah, the game on Saturday is what you wanted to see. You know, you talk about the mark of a good team. Green Bay is a team that is struggling right now. They came in on a 5-game losing streak. This is a game, the way the Phantoms have been playing, you would think this is a game they should win. That's what you expect of good teams. And that is exactly what they did. They just completely dominated them in all 3 phases. Green Bay looked like they were just lost all over the ice. They had their chances, but you didn't see a lot of follow-up. You didn't see a lot of sustained offense. Youngstown fairly well shut them down in this game.
Yeah, we got opportunities. We took advantage of them. Yeah, Green Bay is sliding. Note they are directly behind us in the standings, or were. So it was kind of a big win in that regard. You want to stay ahead of the teams behind you in the standings. And, you know, the series between these teams is going to get a little bit weird here in the coming weeks. So it's good to get a 7-2 win in their barn.
And that was the weekend recap. Coming up next is 4 points. So for the uninitiated, 4 points is where we break down the previous weekend into 4 categories: what we liked, what we didn't like, favorite moment, and weekend MVP. By virtue of rock, paper, scissors, I will be going first. What I liked from this past weekend, and we're seeing this more and more, I think we saw it at its highest level this past weekend, is just the intensity of all 4 lines being rolled onto the ice. You didn't have drop-offs from shift to shift, and we've seen it in the past. You might have those 1 or 2 lines that just aren't matching the intensity and the drive of the other lines. I think this entire weekend, we saw 4 highly committed lines that, quite frankly, from top to bottom, played their butts off.
Yeah, I mean, I probably used the word consistency a little too much, but consistency. So what I liked, scoring first. Everybody knows it's better to play with the lead. The Phantoms certainly seem to play a lot better with the lead. We did that consistently in both games, especially on the road. You got to save energy. If you're not scrambling from behind, it definitely helps.
Okay, so what I didn't like, and as far as the actual hockey itself, I really couldn't think of anything. So I went to my favorite punching bag in the entire United States Hockey League, and I'm not even going to say his name because I didn't even care to look it up to see what it was. That is the play-by-play guy for Green Bay. This guy has been stuck in my craw for a couple years now. On the one hand, he does call a good game. I will give him that. It's the extracurriculars. It's the after the whistle opinions that just always kind of rubs me the wrong way. And it's not, and I've watched Green Bay games. It's not just against Youngstown. He does it against everybody. You know, if a Youngstown player goes down, it's a good play. If a Green Bay player goes down, it's attempted murder. And I can't believe this kid hasn't been kicked out of the league already.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys who make animal noises, but at least they are a little more impartial.
Yeah, that was the second period towards the end of the second period. I want to say, I may be wrong on that, but Green Bay takes a kneeing penalty. When you watched it live, it was very obviously a kneeing penalty. There was no doubt as to what it was. It was clear as day.
And on replay, it was a knee. And on penalty.
Replay that I went back and looked at like 4 times, it was knee to knee. He declared after the whistle that it was a clean hit. It was shoulder to shoulder, and the call was rubbish.
I mean, with certainty, like, you know, yes. He was on the glass watching this right there.
Yeah, so I mean, that's That's how nitpicky I get in a weekend where I just couldn't find anything on the ice I didn't like. So Green Bay guy, it's all on you this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, by virtue of rock, paper, scissors, I have to take the follow up. um, I'm going to say it's probably the same guy, but whoever handles the audio in the booth, I think you owe me money. I might have damaged speakers.
I had
yeah.
earbuds in when I was listening to that. I may need new eardrums.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sitting in my living room listening. I mean, I don't have like a real power. I mean, they're mostly bookshelf speakers and little satellite speakers, but I got a okay Onkyo sound system with Polk Audio speakers, and I got it turned up. I'm enjoying myself, and then all of a sudden I hear kind of a thump, crash, boom, and then all of a sudden the audio just shoots up, and I have no idea what the heck is going on, and I learned something. My Onkyo peaks out. The lowest volume it will go is negative 84.5 decibels. I could still hear it. Negative 85 is mute. It flashes an infinity symbol and it's mute. I could still hear it. And then when they finally normalized it out, I'm at like neg 50 to neg 40. And that's like way too low.
Yeah, from one audio guy to another, when you're driving down the road and you see a red stoplight, the red is an indication of something you really need to pay attention to. Same thing with a stop sign. If you see an ambulance driving down the street or a fire truck with flashing red lights, that's an indication something is not good. The same goes for a soundboard, whether an actual physical soundboard or something you're looking at on a computer screen. If you see flashing red lights in your audio levels, that's a warning. That means you're doing something called peaking, and in peaking, you're also clipping, which translates to the garbled mess that caused my ears to bleed on Saturday night when you started playing your little intro music before the game started.
Even my little Zoom field recorder blinks when you peak.
Okay, so we'll move on here. Favorite moment. I was talking about this a little bit ago. My favorite moment from this weekend was actually Kenta Isagai's goal on Saturday. That goal came on the power play. And again, this goes back to the commentator from Green Bay. He was talking before the game about how Green Bay was on a 5-game losing streak, but Youngstown was coming to town. So he more or less insinuated, because it was Youngstown, not to worry, this losing streak will be over soon. After jumping out 3-1, 3-0, you could kind of start hearing his soul die a little. And then Green Bay picked up a goal. It was 3-1, and he was very confident in declaring that the comeback was on. Here we go.
Again, it was the level of confidence there.
So Kenta Isagai's goal was the fourth goal the Phantoms scored after he made that proclamation, making the score 7-1. And you just heard all but defeat in his voice from that point on to the rest of the game. So for me, that was most definitely my favorite moment of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we were having some good fun with this private messages. So I shared your joy in that. When you're having fun on the weekend and this is your favorite moment, then all is well. So I guess my favorite moment, Saturday, Adam Ingram got us out to a 1-0 lead. We thought goal was disallowed. Adam Ingram gets us out to a 1-0 lead again. So, just one of those little moments. You see a guy on a hot streak. He's fourth in the league in scoring. First by a long shot in rookie scoring. When he comes out and makes that kind of statement, you feel a lot better about the remaining, 40-some minutes of the game.
All right, so my weekend MVP, actually, this will be the first time I haven't given it to a player. I'm actually giving it to Phantoms assistant coach Andy Contois for the game on Friday. Apparently, after what transpired last weekend, Brad Patterson was given a 1-game suspension that was served on Friday. He was not on the bench. It would have been nice to know this beforehand. All I have to say is whoever is in charge of the transactions and suspensions page on the USHL's website, I hope to God they're not sending that person to Omaha to try to sort things out.
Wow.
And that's
Ouch.
not a burn on Omaha. That's a burn on, yeah.
Missing in action since last February.
But yeah, you're on the road. You're coming into this game in Madison, a team that, up to that point in 4 games has beaten you 3 of them. You split with them the weekend before. They're a tough team to play this year. And for them to play as good as a game as they did under him filling in, honestly, I think a lot of the credit goes for him stepping in to that role for that game, stepping in for Brad, and leading the team the way he did. So yeah, he's most definitely my weekend MVP.
That's a very good choice. Yeah, I don't know what happened with the suspensions over the week. Usually we get appraised of these things unofficially. I assume this probably came in pretty late. So for me, though, weekend MVP, I guess we're going to get sick of saying this, but shout out to you. Put some respect on this name, Kyle Chavette. Just astronomical numbers, which the little number fairy came down and wrote me out a sheet here, wherever the sheet
Apparently
is.
The tech fairy running a little late.
The window fairy buried it on page 9. So, yeah, as you've mentioned, Chavette is 7-3-0-1 on the season. He's been in goal for 15 out of our 18 points. First 4 games, a little bit on the rocky side. A lot of this might be the play in front of him. 1-3-0-0, 4-2-3 goals against, 875 save percentage. Last 7 games, 6-0-0-1. That's just, phenomenal any way you look at it. 1.98 goals against average and a .937 save percentage. My notes put that second in the East, behind Nick Haas from Chicago, who I believe is currently injured. So, also, I guess Chavette has only allowed more than 2 goals in 3 of 11 games. That's incredible. No words. He's playing phenomenal in net. A big reason for the Phantom's success. He's confident and consistent.
What is this, like 3 weeks in a row now? He's won one of our. I mean, he's deserved it. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to complain if the goalie is our weekend MVP 3 weeks in a row. That means those were 3 pretty good weeks.
Not when we've been begging for goalies to steal us games in the past.
And you know what? Another player we seem to mention a lot, well, because he scores a lot, that helps, is Ryan Alexander. So Ryan came to Youngstown in a draft day trade with Dubuque. We got Ryan, and Dubuque got the first overall pick in the Phase 2 draft. With that pick, Dubuque selected the NTDP alum, Justin Janicki. So how's that trade going, you ask? He's at Notre Dame.
Yay!
We got Ryan Alexander. They traded up for that pick. They got Justin Janicki. He's currently at Notre Dame. So I think we'll call that a win for us.
Definitely.
Yeah, but this was an interview I was really looking forward to, and thanks to Matt Lipsack and an extra locker room, now you'll just hear a bit of an echo in the interview instead of every noise and voice inside the Covelli Center after a game. And I swear I can't figure it out. I'm basically like the equivalent of like backstage of a hockey arena, and it sounds like I'm in the middle of a kitchen of a restaurant.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. So, that's literally what it sounds like.
Exactly.
You hear a noise like plates rattling.
Oh, it's probably the concessions. Maybe it is plates rattling.
They don't have paper plates. That's not a knock on the Covelli concession stands. They have paper plates.
Yeah.
I don't want to know what the prices would be if they were using the fine china when serving us food. Again, not a knock. So without further ado, here is my interview with Phantoms forward Ryan Alexander. Okay, and now we're back here by the locker room of the Covelli Center after the game on Saturday night. Phantoms lose to Madison 5-3. I am here with Ryan Alexander. Now, Ryan, congratulations already. You've had a great start to this season. You're probably one of the more energetic players I have ever seen in a Phantoms uniform. Has that always been a part of your game? Have you always played with that much intensity?
Yeah, always just worked hard. Never was the most skilled guy on any of the teams I played on, so always thought that hard work's the way to get by. So yeah, always stuck with it.
Okay, so you've played a couple seasons in the Ontario Junior Hockey League, and now you're in your second season in the USHL. Do you feel like your style of play translates better down here in the States?
I mean, the league I was playing in was definitely weaker, so definitely needed to adjust my game a lot. So it's hard to compare the two, but for sure the USHL is just way tougher. Definitely got to battle harder. But yeah.
Now, on the ice over the past month or so, with the exception of tonight, because I wrote this question this way, you've consistently been out there on a line with Steven and Evan. Why do you think the three of you have worked so well together over the past month?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a language barrier with Steven, but yeah, we found a way to communicate. Ev's a speedy little guy, always zipping around somewhere, and Steve could always find passing lanes, and he's a great passer, and then I just bury what he gives me while Ev creates speed. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
So you're committed to Arizona State. Now, growing up in the Toronto area, how much of a factor was the winter weather as far as wanting to go to Tempe, Arizona?
I mean, it was definitely a perk. Yeah, once they gave me the tour and all I was seeing was palm trees,
yeah,
it's definitely hard to say no.
So you're saying there's not a lot of palm trees in Toronto?
No.
Hockey Hall of Fame, but no palm trees.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Okay. All right, last question. Everybody else I've interviewed so far, I've asked this. So thinking of all of your teammates, which one of your teammates would you most not want to have to take a punch from?
Oh, that's Wally easily. Yeah, no.
That's everybody has said Wally so far. It's gonna be fun when I get to him because that's who everybody has said so far.
It's a scary punch for sure.
All right, well, Ryan, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. Okay, I pointed out on Twitter on Friday that the weekend before I had interviewed Jaden Grant and Ryan, and both scored goals this past Friday night. So my plan, hopefully this week, is to talk to Kyle Chevette. So hopefully that streak continues when Youngstown travels to New York for the American Cup. So I'll have to ask Chevette to try to get a goal for me. Help keep this streak alive.
I've been waiting to see it from a Phantoms goalie, so I'm really rooting for you on
so
this
yeah, we
one.
got a little bit of a streak going here. So hopefully Kyle helps us out, and when he goes up to Rochester, can pick up a goal for us and keep this going. But yeah, so that's about a week away. This weekend, we will be welcoming the Chicago Steel back to the Covelli Center for, like I said earlier, the final home game of 2021 that is taking place at the end of November. Thank you, Disney.
Don't make the mouse mad.
All right, so like I said, this Friday at the Covelli Center, puck drop is 7:05 p.m. The Chicago Steel are coming back to the Covelli Center. This is the Phantom Fights Cancer Night. Various things will be going on. All proceeds from this game will be going to the Hockey Fights Cancer organization. The last time Chicago was in town, this was the last meeting with the Phantoms. That was a 5-1 win for the Phantoms, and that was on Halloween. Remember that game very well, even though I was listening to it and then later went home and watched it. But yeah, Chicago is coming into this game with a record of 13 wins, 2 losses, and 4 overtime losses. That is good for 30 points and, of course, first place in the Eastern Conference. Youngstown is coming into this game with a record of 8 wins, 7 losses, and 2 shootout losses. That is good for 18 points. Points-wise, they are tied with Dubuque for 3rd in the Eastern Conference, but they go by the points percentage now, just in case games are missed, so that actually puts them in 4th right behind Dubuque. So depends on how you want to look at it. Chicago, up to this point in the season, after 19 games, they are averaging 3.84 goals per game, giving up 2.79 goals per game. Youngstown bumping the number up. They are up to 3.35 goals scored a game on average, giving up 3.12 goals. And the funny thing is, this is the first time all season, and I believe, and who knows in how long, the Phantoms are actually on the plus side of the goal differential.
Yeah, I mean, at least this far into the season. Plus, hey, we're going to be coming out of Thanksgiving weekend plus 500, plus we're going to be coming out of Thanksgiving weekend at 500 or better. That's a win.
And then looking at special teams, Chicago power play, a little bit of a slide lately. They've dropped down to 22.8%. That is fourth in the East. Their penalty kill still trucking along pretty well, 84.6%. That is good for second. Youngstown have got their power play percentage up 26.6%. That is good for second, not only in the Eastern Conference, but second in the entire USHL. Penalty kill is better than it has been, still has a little ways to go, but definitely we've been seeing some improvements on the penalty kill. Phantoms are at 74.2%, and that is sixth in the East. As always, if you can't make it out to the game, you should try really hard to, but if you can't, you can watch the game on Hockey TV. You can also listen along on Western Reserve Radio. It's kind of strange. It seems like we've been mentioning Western Reserve Radio a lot lately. Definitely a lot more than we have in the past.
Yeah, we're getting to be good friends with them.
Yeah, Hockey TV, Western Reserve Radio. That'll be our great and wonderful friend Matt Lipsack on the call with his second in command, Alexis Davis. I've neglected to mention her name. She's been around for going on a season and a half now. I've neglected to mention her name. I promise I will not make that mistake again. You know, getting to go behind the scenes now, getting to meet her, wonderful young lady, very bright, intelligent young lady, much more so than Matt. So he's really got that, really lucked out there. Yeah, will not make that mistake again. So sorry, Alexis. So yeah, your thoughts on this weekend. You know, Chicago's still carrying on. They're still winning games. They are not winning games, I would say, as easily as they're accustomed to. It has been much tougher for them.
Yeah, they are not as dominant. There is some vulnerability there. As I mentioned before, Nick Haas, their starting goalie, he's currently injured. I'm not sure on his status. Gibson Homer, former NTDP goalie, he's not been exactly the greatest. So, I think we have a good chance, especially if we play them like we did before or like we've played Madison and Green Bay. We've shown we can do this. There was no reason why we can't.
Okay, so as much fun as this has been, it's time to mosey on out of here, so let's take it home. All right, so make sure to check out next week's episode where we'll break down what went right or wrong with Chicago. And like I said before, fingers crossed, I hope I'll be able to get an interview with Phantoms goaltender Kyle Chavette. And we'll look ahead to the Phantoms traveling to Rochester, New York for 2 games with the Green Bay Gamblers in the American Cup, new event this year. Tickets are on sale, apparently.
Well, that's a big definitely maybe. I believe there was finally an announcement made at some point, maybe after people started tweeting. I couldn't tell you.
I mean, not like a scenario like somebody from the Phantoms tweeting out the link for the tickets, and then the USHL, who said absolutely nothing about it, tweeting out half an hour later the same link that was just tweeted out before. Good thing the fine folks in Youngstown are on top of this stuff to help us out and help the USHL out as well.
It's not like this is the first time that, somebody has randomly tweeted something and then finally the USHL has woken up and started responding. Maybe we'll work on those transactions at a later date.
Oh, I don't know about you. I think that was a pretty good episode there. I think we did pretty well.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, better than the Lincoln Stars podcast. I'll say that, but.
Yeah. Well, experience.
Yeah. You've heard of that, the Lincoln Stars podcast, Thunderstruck, hosted by Brandon Anderson and Gene Cotter, available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Apple Podcasts. Yeah, those guys, you've heard of them, right?
I am vaguely.
Taking shots, 6 episodes in, they're taking shots at us. I got news for those guys. We've done more bad episodes than you've done total. Wait.
Oh.
No, I didn't do that right.
You'll edit that, right?
Sad trombone music.
That works just as well.
But yeah, seriously, nothing but love for those guys. Our new friends over in Lincoln. It's not always easy doing what we do, so a lot of respect for what they're pulling off over there. So as always, the Dump and Chase podcast is brought to you by hockeyfan.com, a site that this Thanksgiving I am very thankful for. Just how much do I appreciate hockeyfan.com? I was actually thinking about this the other day, and my finding the site as I signed up to be a season ticket holder ended up being my in to introduce myself to Justin, and from that came a friendship and a partnership that has caused him to lose most of his hair. So for that, I am thankful.
And I'm thankful that I don't have to shave my head quite as much anymore.
My blog, By the Numbers, we're changing things up a little bit. I'll just say briefly here. Still being a little early in the season, it's a little tedious to try to come up with something weekly when you only have a couple new games worth of information to go off of. So actually what I'll be doing until we get closer to playoff time, it'll only come out at the end of every month. I promise you it'll be a lot more interesting than weekly right now. But yeah, might do something with the numbers, posting them on Twitter in the meantime during the week if people want to stay updated with them. Also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, or some podcast service that is run out of a yurt in Argentina. For the latest Phantoms news and updates, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. All of these wonderful links can be found in the description on our Linktree page. And this holiday season, we are most thankful for you, the listeners. This almost 3-year journey is just getting started, and we're excited for where we're going. We hope you'll continue along. Again, maybe some big news coming up, hopefully here sooner than later. We might have slightly hinted towards it a little bit earlier. So if you want to go back and try to figure that out, be my guest. So for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. Happy Thanksgiving from our families to yours, and bye now.